You can't please everybody. Doesn't matter if you can win a race by like 20 seconds or whatever, people still come out and criticise you. But if I'm being totally honest here, and I'm saying this as a McLaren fan, I think they have a slight point. I think they do have a point when it comes to Lando Norris at the Singapore Grand Prix. Because of course, like I said, he did win this race at an absolute canter in the end, but he was definitely pushing the car too hard in places, as was evidenced by his 2 incidents on track. Of course, he ran wide in the braking zone, broke too deep into one of the braking zones. It was the one after the hairpin bridge bit, and then I don't know what all the corner names are, but anyway, he ran too wide, clipped the barriers. Thankfully not too much damage on his front wing, but it could have easily been his front wing entirely off. And then on top of that as well, he kind of went a bit wide on the entry to one of the corners as well, what used to be the Singapore Sling. In an incident that was actually reminiscent of, I think it was George Russell a few years ago, that ended up with him retiring with car damage. Again, Norris got away with it relatively in the end, didn't even lose much time at all, but very, very close to 2 incidents that could have ended his race entirely. But let's have a look at what some guys are saying about this win, because yeah, it definitely could have ended up being very different, and had Norris retired from this race, it absolutely would have been a ball dropped, and therefore as well, I think, to be honest, his championship challenge over. He needs to be perfect between now and the end of the season to even stand a chance, and even that might not be enough. Let's have a look. Although Lando Norris utterly dominated the Singapore Grand Prix, he still faced criticism from a couple of former Formula 1 drivers. When you're so far ahead, you should actually be driving relaxed, Jan Lammers said, who is also the boss of the Dutch Grand Prix. Indeed, even McLaren CEO Zak Brown admitted he directly intervened on Sunday by radioing his title challenger driver and warning him to stop making small driving mistakes. Stop making mistakes, stop doing that. He said, Lando Norris said, tired, happy and tense, he said when he asked about how he felt after the checkered flag. Oh no, this is Zak Brown's, my apologies. Lando came close to the wall a few times. He asked over the radio if we saw him at the wall. He said, yes, don't do it again, Brown smiled. But he drove brilliantly, he was flying. 2016 World Champion Nico Rosberg warned Norris, 24, that if he didn't find a way to be more calm during it to bring a dominant car home to the line, he could throw away the title. It's very strange, he told Sky Deutschland. Unusual, you're so far in the lead and you make 3 mistakes. Twice it was so close to the wall that it's almost over. He brakes far too late and blocks the front tyre. Normally you're gone. The front wing is broken and there goes the victory. That was a huge stroke of luck, added the German driver. If he really wants to become world champion, he has to get rid of this behaviour somehow. I mean, if you look at, you've had the same speed as the guy behind in a 30-second lead, it's not the most difficult thing to bring the car home. Lammers, however, has admitted that it could be dangerous for a driver to relax in the lead in but such a big gap, especially if you're good on the streets, you get into a flow. Then you ease off, mistakes can happen, you suddenly become very aware of everything you're doing. That's why I think Lando was pushing for fun. Interesting. So what are my thoughts on this? Well, first of all, I think it's very ironic for Jan Lammers to make these kind of statements about a Formula 1 driver. You look at his career in F1, it was nowhere near the best. However, Nico Rosberg, I value his opinion a lot more when it comes to this, because he is someone who did beat Lewis Hamilton in equal machinery. Let's just get the meme out of the way. But in all seriousness, to win that championship in 2016, he had to be pretty much perfect the entire year. The guy barely made any mistakes whatsoever. And you look at Norris, and it's an interesting one because he does have the fastest car on the grid, and he was the fastest driver by far, and he brought the car home with a dominant victory. But it was nerve-wracking at times. I was nervous as a McLaren fan actually seeing this, even though he was leading by miles. But when that gap started to come down after he had his crash with the front wing, I was thinking, oh no, they should have changed the wing. They messed up here, but in the end he was comfortable. It is different. I mean, I was again someone's opinion I do value on this is Martin Brundle, who's won many sports car races and an excellent driver in Formula 1, one of the best to never get a victory in my opinion. And he was saying on Sky Sports F1 that it is difficult when you're leading by that kind of margin, because you're just kind of racing by yourself, you're driving by yourself, you have nobody to kind of push you and keep you in line and on track, and it's very easy to make a mistake doing that. And I absolutely agree with him with my very limited experience of racing in, I'm not an esports guy by any means, but racing, Gran Turismo and Formula 1 game over the years. I get it is difficult, you're more likely to make a mistake. I mean, yeah, it's not as hard as having someone right behind you putting pressure on you, but it is difficult to keep mentally focused and keep driving perfectly. And Lando Norris is a very inexperienced driver at winning races. This is only his 3rd Grand Prix victory at Singapore. He'll get better at it as time goes on. You know, James Hunt used to speak about it a lot on commentary. Winning your first Grand Prix is an incredibly difficult thing to do. Once you've done that, you've kind of broken the seal, for lack of a better term. And yeah, that's my kind of thoughts on it. I do understand there is criticism, and I did feel that kind of nervousness, but his pace, his driving overall, my word, it was electric. I mean, yes, fastest car on the grid, but to win by that margin, to be that comfortable, was almost a pit stop ahead of Verstappen at one stage. Scary, scary. A lot can happen between now and the end of the season. A lot can happen in this 4-week gap we've got right now in terms of development. Maybe Cota won't suit McLaren as well, but you'd be very, very brave to bet against a McLaren winning, in the USA in a couple of weeks' time, in a month's time or so. So those are my thoughts, guys. Let us know yours in the comments below as always. And of course, for much more Formula One news, opinions, and everything in between, keep it tuned here to the F1Chronicle.com. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell as well to see much more videos just like this.